All right, welcome back to the new SC podcast. We're going to do a quick segment here talking about John Mateer. Breaking news that he has broken a bone in his thumb in the Auburn game. Expected to miss some time. He's going to have surgery on that thumb. Now, preface everything I'm saying by the fact that I'm not a doctor. I can't say for certain how this is going to look. All injuries are different. We're looking at timetables now that some are saying 3 weeks, some are saying a month. Hard to speculate what it might be. We're going to talk about a couple things here. We'll talk about the injury itself. We'll talk about what's next for Oklahoma and how they might fare in his absence here. So first and foremost, broken bone in the Auburn game in the thumb that will need surgery. Timetable would put him back potentially at the Ole Miss game, maybe later. I don't see him coming back before that. So you will be without John Mateer for probably Kent State, Texas, South Carolina, and then hit or miss on if you get him back for Ole Miss or Tennessee, or if it's all the way out to the Alabama game. Those are some unfortunate ones to miss, but we'll talk a little bit about how Oklahoma might fare in those games. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Curtis Rourke, thumb injury last year at Indiana, broken bone that had surgery. He only ended up missing about 14 days. Now, all thumb injuries are different. This is also a throwing hand injury that he suffered and came back in short time. So we might see John Mateer back sooner than we think. It could be for that Ole Miss game if all things go right for Oklahoma. Now, you hate to see an injury like this, but what does this mean for the roster going forward? You have two good quarterbacks on the roster. They're not to his caliber. He's up in the Heisman poll right now as one of the favorites. And now you look to replace him with a quarterback that you're familiar with as an Oklahoma fan, and Michael Hawkins Jr. He came in last year when Jackson Arnold was struggling. He had some struggles of his own. He wasn't asked to do too much from a passing standpoint. And then they ended up going back to Jackson Arnold after a pretty lackluster South Carolina showing for Michael Hawkins Jr. Now, how he might fit into this offense, he has decent ability to run the ball, just like John Mateer does. He doesn't have the same caliber of throwing, at least not to the level that Mateer does based on his stats last season. But if you're an Oklahoma fan, you know that last season is not this season. You have a lot better receivers now. The O-line is improved. You still have some injuries there that you're facing, but the receivers are considerably better. You have good running backs, Torrey Blaylock doing his thing back there. You got Jaden Ott hoping to work into the mix a little bit more. So I do think that there's opportunity for him to step into this role and be able to perform well enough to get you by some of these games. Kent State especially, but then you look towards Texas and, Texas is not as strong offensively. Oklahoma defense could put themselves in a situation like they did in the Oklahoma-Auburn game last year, where you're not asking your quarterback to do too much. If we as the defense can hold the opponent to 10, 17, 20 or less points, can you as an offense do your part and uphold that? Now you get to the South Carolina game. They might be something different there. You're going to be playing at South Carolina. So there's some opportunities there for South Carolina to steal that one if you don't have your quarterback back by then. But that's 4 weeks away, 3-4 weeks away. You have the opportunity to get Michael Hawkins Jr. back into the swing of things. Now behind him, you got a guy we talked about in one of the earlier games this season to see some reps, and that's Whit Neubauer, the Mercer transfer. He has a little bit of experience. He played at Mercer. He came into the Alabama game when Mercer played them last year and did okay. So I think that you're not going to be able to fully replace Mateer. This isn't going to be a situation like what Ole Miss has, where the backup comes in and is potentially better. You're going to have a hard time replacing the offensive production that Mateer had. But looking at your two quarterbacks on the roster, particularly Michael Hawkins Jr., he's got the legs to be able to run a little bit. You have an incredible Oklahoma defense that isn't going to, put your offense in positions to where they need to score 30, 40 points to win a ball game. We've seen it all year. They've held teams to hardly anything. Auburn 17 points, the most they've been scored on this season. So I'm really looking at that Texas game as one to circle. I hope to see him back for the Ole Miss game, if not Tennessee. Oklahoma, I don't think this is a season killer. When you get him back, we'll see how, if he nurses the thumb a little bit. I don't think they're going to work him back into rotation until he's really good to go. Just knowing the potential that he has and what this team could do down the ending stretch of the season with Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. But we'll keep monitoring it. We'll be talking about it here. We do injury reports. We talk about some of the updating news. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're an Oklahoma fan or just want to keep track with what's going on in college football. As always, I'm Hunter Ziesman here with the new SEC podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.